This story is called The Magim's Staff, and it's taken from The House of the Stormwind and Other Short Stories, written by Joanna Gawn and Dickerson. What happens when all feeling is lost? When it's sucked from you, like the air from your lungs, in one scorching exhalation? I ask because I need you to understand how it felt, to know what I went through when the Magim stole my life. I found it again, my life. I clawed my way back to sensing, feeling, but it was a hard road, blocked by mountains and treacherous gorges, or so it seemed at the time. Everything rock hard and dry, out of reach, lacking colour and life. You see, I'd had no idea a person, a human, could do that, and I was right, because the Magim was no human. That day bloomed hot and dry like 100 days before it. The air shimmered like the water we all craved, torture when our mouths were so parched, our bodies so dirty and tired. We looked within, but that brought no pleasure, no sustenance, and plenty of discord and intolerance instead, each of us gasping for moisture and strength, but wasting what we did have on petty complaints and arguments. Instead of water, he walked into our lives like a cool wind skimming the hot dusty plain, and in our weakness we all fell for it. He seduced us, not physically, not sexually, but mentally, a complete submission of our will to his. My craving for him went beyond reason and into a form of madness. There is no other way to describe it. I don't know how he did it, what magic he used, but he turned us against ourselves, so that any self-preservation we had left was dissolved like dust in the rain we longed for, leaving our minds a jumble of unrecognisable fragments. Whilst the Magim was with us, time seemed to slow, and we allowed him to warp everything he understood or recognised. After that, any awareness of who I was slipped away like ice on the hot summer days we endured. It simply vanished as though I had never been. Only my twin, Shara, survived his wickedness. I suspect she had some untapped magic potential inside her. Maybe it was because she was only days away from giving birth. Her instinct to protect her unborn child seemed to imbue her with a magic of her own. I only know that it was Shara who found out how to reverse the magic, to bring me back one small piece, one small memory at a time. Each night the Magim returned with the stars, intent on absorbing us. Each night Shara was able to deflect his magic, and gradually we gained in strength and found ourselves. On that day when we again had the fortitude and desire to remove him from our lives, we connected our minds and our hearts, and sent a prayer for deliverance. The next morning the Magim had disappeared. No one ever saw him again, but his grey robe and his wooden staff were abandoned outside the door of my house. We found no footprints. It was as though he had sent a wind across the cracked surface of the plain to brush away the evidence. Storms came, bringing tumultuous showers of thick rain, clouds that fought and crackling skies that blazed and raged. We danced in the rain, grateful for the life it delivered to us. Once gnarled and wrinkled, the staff burst into yellow-orange flowers, scenting the damp air with the fragrance of the cacao nut. We learned how to make a drink from the fruit, a rich dark concoction that enhanced our strength and gave us the ability to survive the dry season. The grey cloak faded to dust, transforming into a substance that we used to enrich our feeble soil. We planted seeds, harvested nuts and fruits, and grew a hardy grain that we pounded into bread. What would have happened to us if Shara had been vulnerable, we will never know. Shara was the key. She saved us all. She is becoming a legend, the tales of her resistance of the Magim being related to our little ones as sleep stories. I never want to return to that hopeless place where I cannot feel, nor to that landscape of scars and dust. Although my life is hard, I am content. My thoughts roam on fertile land, and I accept every moment for the gift that it is.